Hello, it's Friday the 13th, but there's no misfortune here. In fact, we've got two guys that are lucky to be in a job. Hi, this is Game On. I'm Michael Gannon. This is Graeme Young. Sorry, Graeme, mate. One guy's lucky to be in a job. That's a bit harsh. Okay. Listen, it's been another wild week in sport. We had Iceland that sent shivers up our spines, but they've also got the transfer market hotting up. But we've got to tackle all the big issues of the week. We're up against the clock as always. So how are you? Graeme, a good week?
Ready to go. Brilliant week and loads to talk about as well, so that's always useful.
It is. Listen, we'll start with the Scotland international double-header, Iceland and Liechtenstein. A bit of a mixed bag, it's fair to say. Yep. After Iceland, I think a lot of people calling for Steve Clarke to go now. He seemed to ease the pressure against Liechtenstein. What do you think we are with Scotland now? Is it still a case of in Steve we trust, or is your belief starting to waver a wee bit?
I think that's the biggest worry for Steve Clarke is we're in that point where one bad result's catastrophic. There's no, it doesn't feel like a lot of wiggle room. Where the two Euros, I think the first Euro 2020, I think that was the first go at it. But last summer there was a lot of recriminations. I said at the time that I think Steve Clarke missed a step by not having a real exit interview, a proper audit, just to say, listen, this didn't go well. And he actually addressed it when he finally addressed it. He said about his hopes and dreams. I think he feels he deserves a shot to take Scotland to the World Cup. He's the guy that's landed 2 Euros. He deserves that chance. The problem is the team doesn't function correctly. And Ben Doak, that bus we got in the Nations League, we were actually excellent in the Nations League. There was a lot of good performances, but out with that, the Euros it wasn't good enough. And then the Greece defeat's so frightening because that's the problem. These nations who come and go, who've been out in the doldrums, suddenly come with a new era team that are pretty exciting to watch. Yeah. We've almost had that era. It feels that these guys, and we've never been able to quite cash in on it. And I think now where we are, there's a lot of concerns, and I feel that this group looks pretty. There's not much wiggle room, and we need to get caught. We have to start quitting Denmark. It feels like.
So you think we should get shot at Steve just now then?
No, probably.
Ahead of the campaign.
No, this is what me.
No, do you know what I think he's earned the right to have a crack at this campaign. I mean, this is a guy who, when we came in, we were getting beat at Kazakhstan and all that stuff, and we're lingering in Group C in the Nations League, not qualifying for competitions. He gets us to 2 European Championships, a whisker from the last World Cup. We've got his promotion to, at one point, Group A, which we've been unheard of in the Nations League, back to Group B, which is probably where we belong. I think he's earned the right. I think I can understand the question marks. People throw this 5 wins in 22 games, and 2 of them are against Liechtenstein and Gibraltar, right? So it's not been a great 12 months, 18 months. I do think, though, you need to take into account the fact the reason why we lost games was because we'd already qualified for the Euros. We took on some horrendous friendlies that we were always going to get beaten anyway. And then we're at the Euros, and then we're in Group A. So I think a lot of these fixtures have been beyond our capabilities anyway. We'd have to be punching above our weight to get results in them. So I think the results are a wee bit of a kind of misleading kind of stats. I think he's earned the right to go to the World Cup. If he gets us there, great, he can do what he likes. But I think we need to stick by him and back him all the way to America.
And I think that's my overriding feeling as well. But the scary bit here is we go into Copenhagen. If we lose heavily, it's indicative of Scotland, just not Clarke, but the way the SFA, everything.
Don't be so negative. We're going to back.
Get my see you, Jimmy.
You're in extra time and you're being negative.
So what about the games? What about the Scotland games? The 2 matches, was there any signs of life in the setup under Steve Clarke? Can you see any of these new faces becoming key contributors moving forward for this vital World Cup campaign?
First and foremost, these games were a waste of time, right? I'm not having them, right? The June friendlies, I mean, if there are qualifiers, yes, I would say that you have to play them. It's a terrible date in the international calendar for a start, but to not have qualifiers and play 2 friendlies against Iceland and Liechtenstein, I mean, a lot of these guys had long, hard seasons. By the way, we've seen it across the board. England and their friendlies the friendly match were hopeless as well. Didn't look interested. I think these games are really difficult. However, in saying that, Liechtenstein, I mean, let's be honest, the dog and duck of the international world. I mean, 205th in the world. I mean, the record sports works team are like 206. So, I mean, we're talking impoverished. So you have to caveat anything with that as well. With that being said, I still think the emergence of Lennon Miller was good. I mean, Lennon Miller looked way, way above levels at that game. I think he's going to be a feature now in future squads going forward now. I think it should be. We need to start building around Lewis Ferguson as well, I think, as well. We need to start looking towards the future. So, yeah, these guys, I mean, Josh Doig is obviously a competitive position he's playing in. I thought he did. He's going to be a one. They stick around. Yeah, I mean, the boys up front. Yeah, all right. Not bad. I mean, Hurst gets his goal, which is good for him. Shea Adams scoring was good as well. I mean, it's been a long time since he hit the net as well. So it wasn't. There was some things to take from it, but at the same time, it was a box ticker, fulfilling the fixture, and then just forget about them. And in years to come, we'll be saying we played against what? I mean, Iceland will be stuck in the memory because it was so bad. But yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't be putting too much on these games.
That's fair. The one player who, and I think would go under the radar, but Andy Irvine, he's got a fascinating story. Just even at heart, probably a bit underrated. He's worked around Europe. He is in the world of transfers and analytics.
Does he play off enough though?
I know exactly. This is his moment, because what he flashed last season at West Ham was a very cultured player in the middle, and now he has to make that move at West Ham. And I think if he finds the right club. The age he's at 25, the next couple of years he could be guys like Kenny McLean. There's always a position in squads, especially in the 3-man midfield days, for guys who can keep the ball under pressure. And with plenty of games where that might be the case. I think he's got a chance to become a regular in the squad and be a pretty key contributor.
That's the biggest disappointment was we went down to our kind of 114th choice goalkeeper, and I still didn't get a phone call
maybe
after my heroics at Celtic Park the other week. I mean, not even a text message to say I wasn't being considered. Which is maybe just as well, so I'm very much in close season mode right now. Listen, moving on, we touched on one of the Scotland guys there, Lennon Miller. Favoured transfer speculation around this player. Miller were ready to cash in, rightly so. I think probably time is right for them. Loads of clubs mentioned now, including Celtic and maybe Rangers sneaking in there, I don't know. Should these guys stump up for Lennon Miller?
Yes, this is the easiest question I've ever asked. It's just that a player of such high quality.
Give me a number. How much?
Well, if you're hearing, I think if it becomes a fight, it could go upwards to 8 million. But I don't think you'd overpay at that rate. I think we ended up paying 8 million for Lennon Miller. It's one of these calculated gambles where he's a player of such substance. There's no way that this won't pan out for him. I think you don't see many people at his age. The maturity is incredible. The ability is unbelievable. And that game, the way he showed up against Liechtenstein is indicative of a player of his quality. You're talking about the end of season nature of these games. Young teenager coming on and just demanding. And I think every club, look at the teams that have been in. Tony Bloom, St Joua were one of the teams that were obviously interested. If Hearts had the budget, they probably would be interested. But he's shown up in teams that scout well. Udinese, Watford, that era. There's loads of different clubs across Europe that know this guy's the real deal. And if Celtic Rangers, especially Celtic, I think have maybe been chasing the past with top talents going elsewhere, I think it'd be a foolish move maybe not to really push the boat out for Lennon Miller. If you were a signing guru, what would you be paying for him? How high would you go?
Well, this is the thing. I think, listen, £6-8 million a lot of money domestically. But I think Celtic have got previous of spending that kind of money. They spent £11 million on the Engels. Last summer, it was a prospect, albeit a slightly one further down the line, having played in the Bundesliga. I think it's a no-brainer. I think Celtic should go and get him. I think he's on his upward trajectory to the top. I think you're looking at the ghosts of John McGinn in the past, and it's a slightly different situation. I think because nobody really thought that John McGinn was going to go and be what he became at that point in time. We all knew he was a good player. I don't think if he said back then even that he was going to become an established Premier League star, captain in Aston Villa, Champions League and all that stuff. I don't think we all thought that was going to happen, and he's been brilliant to get to that level. Whereas Lennon Miller, he's on an upward path. If he goes to Celtic, that's not his final port of call. He's 18 years old. He's only 19 next month. I think it would be a shrewd investment because I think it would be a kind of very low risk investment because he would play eventually, and I think at some point Celtic would cash in and make more money on him anyway. So I think lose. It's almost a no-brainer, but they need to get their skates on because the clock is ticking and the value is rising by the week.
Okay, so two guys here, Bold and Whacky. Is that a fair description of us?
Old and Whacky, maybe.
Old and Whacky. That's us. That's
well,
perfect.
That's certainly me. Yeah.
So transfer season's famed for its silliness, right? So let's be a little bit silly. What's the wackiest prediction you have for this summer? It feels like we're moving in a weird something a bit out the box could happen. Teams are really active this summer. How do you think it'll go down?
Right, I think you'll see Aberdeen, Hearts, and Hibs will all spend over £1 million on a player.
Oh, stuff. You know.
How's that for Wild and Whacky?
That's Whacky.
When was the last time one of the non-Old Firm teams paid £1 million for a player? Has it ever happened?
Hopefully we can edit this out, but it feels that kind of
Bernard for Aberdeen
Bernard,
back in the 90s maybe, that kind of era.
It feels that time, yeah.
It's been a long time since.
Triantis for Hibs, is that you're thinking there?
Well, they're getting towards that kind of figure, but I think Hearts have got it in the locker, I think, to go and do something for £1 million plus. Aberdeen they've got plenty of money as well. They've now just banked, or they're set to bank another £5 or £6 million for Europe, having ripped that out of Hibs' back pockets in the cup final with their heroics at Hampden.
Punish them twice.
So yeah, I think you might see the big city clubs chilling up this summer, which I think would be great news. I mean, don't get me wrong. Fans get a bit kind of panicky that kind of money getting spent, like because we know Scottish football is not exactly flush at times. But these three clubs have all got backing. Hearts have now got the injection of £10 million from Tony Bloom's company. You've got Hibs with their Bournemouth dosh in there as well. So I think they're going to see some spending from these clubs, which I hope they strengthen and tool up and make the league stronger, because we want a strong league and we want these teams that are going to be a threat every week.
Do you know what as well, just on these three teams, there's a strength in there, assuming they're all good together. It just makes the league better as well.
Very rarely
I know, but it feels that there is a...
I mean, you get Aberdeen a good season and Hearts are plummeting and all these things. So I think it's... I'll let you see that. But what's your thought? What's your Whacky prediction?
Well, I think Celtic, the one knock, and Celtic obviously really against this, is that maybe they don't move quick enough in the eyes of their supporters. But I think they'll be really active early, have a nice cool period at the start of the season, and I would say they'll break their transfer record from Engels last summer. In the last week, wouldn't even shock me that it happened twice. And I believe that the targets now will be more akin to the price range they were paying in previous years, and that gives them scope, because there's no deadwood left in the Celtic squad. It's been cleared out expertly in the last 4 or 5 windows, that the players that were kind of hanging around that weren't working, I know there's still a few loan players at Quan and Tillio, but these guys can be obviously moved on again. I think that how it will play out is they'll make 4 or 5 signings now and over the next 5-6 weeks, give themselves scope, and if they want to really target specific players of quality, they can do it in the final days. So Engels, richest or most expensive player in Scottish football, I don't think it'll last for long.
£11 million plus signing coming to Celtic?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't see it this summer.
I think they'll give themselves space to do it.
Yeah, I think.
And a forward, I think it'll be a striker as well.
Yeah, well, we mentioned some names get thrown about. Somebody like, I think a loan day, a final deadline day move for somebody like a Danny Ings or something like that could happen as well. Something like that would be interesting. But we're talking about comings and goings at Celtic. Greg Taylor, not quite done yet. He's been on holiday. It looks like he's going to Pauk over in Greece. Is he make the right call?
Maybe it doesn't feel the clock. I think Greg Taylor's probably one of the more underrated Scottish players, a recent memory, in that inverted position. I know it's only become a cliche, but nobody does it like him. It's such a unique role. He does it so well. You'd almost hope that kind of ability to do something that not many can would have landed a more a kind of higher level transfer. And there's not. Pauk have been a very good team at what I think our teams have come a cropper to them as well over the years. But I feel for all his value to Celtic, I thought it might be reciprocated, maybe more in a team in the top 5 leagues. Weirdly, I thought he might have landed a transfer like that, and I know he's not for everyone. Yeah, like Brendan Rodgers. Well, every manager that's had him loves him. Chris Boyd, when he talks about him, loved him as a teammate. He's one of the most well-liked players in the squad. But I don't think Pauk feels that the move, like, so he's rolling Celtic, he'd be allowed to stay on and be a part of that. It just doesn't feel like the right transfer. I don't know how you watch him every week. How do you see him? I think he's been slightly unfortunate that the physicalities against him when it comes to England. I think you look at that, even the English Championship now, the bottom end of the Premier League. Yeah. I mean, the fullbacks are all 6'5", 15 stone of sheer muscle, can run 100 metres in 8.3 seconds and all that stuff. So he's not that kind of guy. He's a good little football, a good technical, good football player, really intelligent. I mean, listen, I understand he's thinking, because obviously he wants to be the first choice. He doesn't want to be sitting on the bench some weeks. I just think he should have stayed put. I think because I know the Kieran Tierney signing is going to be. It's hard to sit back if you've been the guy for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and the guy coming in, it's all fanfares and all that stuff. I get that. It's not, that's going to stick in the craw a wee bit, and then being kind of seen as a kind of backup. But I don't think it is a backup job at Celtic when Kieran Tierney come back. Kieran Tierney has not played 90 minutes for a year.
we know he's got injury issues. He said he's only played 90 minutes 6 times in 2 years. Is he going to play every minute of a 55-game season? Not a chance. So you will get 25, 30 games. You probably could him off the bench. If you're not starting, you'll be off the bench anyway. So and the money's good at Celtic as well. So I get the way he felt a wee bit unloved. Maybe the fans took him for granted until the end when they maybe realised at the end he was a good player. I just think he might have. I think maybe he should have just take a step back, sign a new deal, and then see how it pans out next year. Because anything could happen. Kieran Tierney, touch wood for the lad. He's had a wretched time of injury, but anything could happen. He could be out for a wee spell. And Greg Taylor is the ideal guy. The Celtic fans and manager know what he can do. Mm-hmm. I just think it would have been better to stay put. But I also understand his thinking. So you got to, and plus the weather looks nice out there as well.
It does look nice. That's important. The bit there at the end was very.
There's reasons I can understand why he's done it.
So we go across the city now, right? And I'm going to give you 3 names: Igamane, Raskin, Dessers. 3 players, and always, especially in Dessers' case, not always valued by the Rangers support, but key members of a side that maybe flattered to deceive, or definitely flattered to deceive last season, but all players that contribute to Rangers. Is it risky business for the new era to see all 3 go, with Igamane obviously attracting major interest? Yeah. Raskin in that contract kind of quandary situation, you either cash in now, or is he going to re-up his deal? Probably not. It's only 1 more year you'll have him. And Dessers, for all his faults, scores a barrel load of goals. Is it a dangerous move to maybe part Will Free this summer? Or is it a Leeds, can I just do that bit again? 49ers and Andrew Kavanagh era, is that how they're going to make their mark, by cashing in and spending wisely?
I do find it a wee bit funny. By the way, this happens at Celtic fans as well, Rangers fans, but this kind of like, we're going to get 12 million, we're going to get 50 million, we're going to get 25 million, and it's like they can't wait to get them at the door and get big money. And I'm like, wait, surely you want to keep hold of your best players. I think Igamane and Raskin haven't hit their peak value yet. So do not. I know they're talking 12 million, 5 million. You go, that sounds great. That's great. Get the money in. Because Rangers have been chasing this kind of player recruitment model.
That's it.
We had it for years, right? But I don't think they're the optimum selling point yet. I think get Raskin in a new contract, get another season out of him in a decent Rangers team rather than a struggling one, and then sell him for more next summer. Igamane is only just starting out, and he's had a great burst of form. He didn't play in his own position often enough last season, but showed real flashes of potential. Another season under his belt, they value it. So don't sell him for 8, 9, 10, 12 just now. Try and punt him for 20 next season. Raskin, don't punt him 50 now. Try and get 25 next season. I get it. If a big comes in now of £25 million for Raskin, it's going to be hard to turn down. And the player might think, I want to take this and get more money and go elsewhere. That's always a caveat. But if it's a value under that kind of, if it is 12, 13, 14 million, sit tight, get another season out of them and go. Dessers, I think it's slightly different. He's over 30. He scored a lot of goals, but he's a good earner. He is flaky in big games. He scores a lot of goals, but he's not reliable enough in the big moments. For me, he's the wrong side of 30. If they can recoup what they paid for him or make a profit, then I think you say, right, big man, thanks for your efforts, wish you all the best, and plough the money back into the team. There is going to be money to spend. They're going to have to generate some money themselves. I get that, but for me, don't selling the best players before they hit their potential, I think is the wrong move for me. That's not how the player trading model works. It's selling them at the right time. And for those 2 in particular, I don't think it's the right time.
The Dessers one is fascinating for the reason
you just ignore the whistle now. That's the time up.
I've got one more.
I timed that my run perfect there.
I thought you said I could talk for an extra 2 minutes. I'm getting it all mixed up, right? But I think Dessers is a fantastic test case of, can they eke out every penny for a player who deep down they would probably accept selling? And he is valuable to other teams. He scores. Just don't watch all the highlights. Just watch the brief highlights where he scores, not the ones he misses. Yeah. And teams will obviously be interested.
I'll keep him. What about incomers? Connor Cody, big name mentioned with Rangers. Very experienced defender. Capped by England, obviously. 32 now.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying? Good fit for Rangers.
He would be. I think he is the type of player you need. A level of steel in this new rebuild. So it doesn't really fit with the kind of changing of the kind of style and the new approach to bringing in players that are young and developing and selling and all that stuff. Not going to be any selling value for Connor. No,
Cody.
But I don't think you need. Not every player has to be a selling player.
That's what I'm saying.
I think there's an important point. And if you look at the underlying all these passings, he actually comes out quite favourably.
Is he a ball player?
He's not your perfect ball player, but
because Russell Martin's going to be asking him to pass the ball out.
But he's good at that quicker pass through the, do you know, maybe like Carter Vickers, a quicker pass out the defence. He's decent enough. Everything there, that was the big question. If you analyse how he stands up, he's been asked to do it enough at different clubs. I think it actually makes a ton of sense because Rangers are lacking in proper leadership. This guy's very accountable. We'll hear him in a couple of weeks. He's on Club World Cup punditry duty. I think he'll speak really well. He's a type of guy that could obviously go into, I think he's craving a move like Rangers as well, in the sense the key role at Wolves, and he's just not quite. He's just probably looking for. I think
a lot of Rangers fans are maybe just a bit kind of battle scarred by seeing kind of. I'm not saying veteran, but these kind of big name, experienced centre halves coming in from big leagues and bombing.
Yeah,
I mean, there's too many of them. By the way, including the manager.
Well, he maybe knows what he needs.
So listen, there's no doubt he's got pedigree. I think he would improve to you. I think you're right. I'm playing devil's advocate. I think he's a solid defender, and I think you look at somebody like Robin Propper, who is a ball playing centre half, but couldn't cope with the physicality in Scotland. I mean, some of the games in Scotland, I'm looking at St Mirren, Kilmarnock, and all that stuff, and he was completely all at sea. Couldn't cope with it with the physical side of the game in this country. Could pass a nice ball and stroll out and all that stuff. That's fine, but he just couldn't defend. No. So yeah, whereas Conor Cody, I think you're right, as a solid defender, experienced. And I'm playing devil's advocate. He can pass a ball, but I just wonder about the strategy, where that fits in, and kind of the bringing in young, hungry players. And
I know that, but I've got a feeling I'll put my neck in the line, and you can obviously delete this later. I think if Cody signs, he'll be a good signing. I think he'll make it happen for Rangers. So we're going across the M8 here to Jamboland, to Tynecastle. Hearts have been busy in the transfer market. It's a new era. And I've tried to fit in the word analytics 4 times already, Mick, and now we're going to the...
Can't even spell it.
I know, well, I don't think I'm far behind. And it's to the Jamestown Analytics, Tony Bloom world. Hearts have been very active in the transfer market, and now what comes next? Are they the favourites to finish third? Are they ahead of Aberdeen? Hibs, do you think they're the team that will fight? I think
Hearts will finish third this season. And we're only in June, and the market hasn't even started yet. They've made a couple of inroads into it already. Guys, listen, let's be honest, we don't know an awful lot about them.
Analytics are saying they're good players.
The data suggests that they're absolutely superb. I just think they've got a good manager, they've got a bit of money, they've got a recruitment process which has worked at other clubs. It's now cranking into gear. I think they are going to be the team to beat for third. I think they will finish third. I mean, Aberdeen, I think, are obviously the high of winning the cup, but they've got the Europe next year, which is going to stretch their squad. And this is a squad who, let's be honest, for 6 months was dot cotton. I mean, the great start to the season, but they were howling for the other half of the season and managed to win the Scottish Cup when people thought it was a bloodbath. So, listen, fair play to them, and enjoyed the parades and all that stuff, but they've got a work to do. That's a very flaky squad that needs a lot of work as well. Hibs, in a bit of reversal from Aberdeen, had a tremendous second half of the season, but they've lost a lot of players. Try to get a few of them back in, obviously, but they've got some work to do as well, whether they can maintain that. I just think Hearts are coming from a building from a lower base, but they've got the structures in place already. They've got the finances, they've got the strategy, and they've got the manager. And I think that all that's combined is going to come together. I think they are going to be the ones to beat. I think they're the ones to watch for third at this point in time. I think it's too early to talk about them breaking the old firm and all that. The chat about the great disruptors of Scottish football. Yeah. That might come down the line. I just think it's quite an exciting time at Tynecastle. I think they are going to be the team to beat, to be best of the rest.
And that's Andrew McKinley. He's obviously probably regrets some of the things he'd said in the past about splitting the old firm and all this. But
no, I always encourage you. I'd always encourage you. What's the point of not aiming high?
No, I don't.
It's not saying we're going to win the league.
Well, kind of did. He got close to it. I'm saying he should regret it rather than. I like that attitude, but you need to back it up. But the point with...
So who's beating them? Who's going to be the third?
Aberdeen. So I was the biggest. I was Jimmy Tulane. I was the biggest cynic, Jimmy. But you've charmed me. I thought
you're the biggest cynic. So they lose for 6 months. Now you're on the bus.
I'm easily swayed. Right. Why I like Aberdeen is I thought they showed a real maturity. Cup final, and I genuinely believe now. You know that way when managers stay so calm, you think, oh. He just blustered it. I think his calmness will win out. If the recruitment looks okay, pretty solid to start, that keeps up, I think they'll be good enough again. I think the lows won't be as low. The highs might not be as high as the start of the season, but I think they'll be consistently best of the rest behind Celtic and Rangers.
Well, let's wait and see. We've got a long way before it kicks off anyway. Listen, we're talking about all these signings and players coming in and all these big monies and all that stuff, but Celtic Rangers, I see again the annual kind of cull of some of the young players and all that stuff, and there's a real kind of feeling that there's not been many players that broke through at the first team at Ibrox or Celtic Park. What is the point of these academies? Should they just scrap them? Because even the best players they get now are leaving at 16 and 17. So they're not even staying around. They're not even getting close to the first team and they're away. We've seen it with Celtic losing a few. Rangers have lost a few this summer as well. Prospects that are going out the door before they even get a sniff of the first team. So what is the point of these clubs having academies?
If you'd asked me a couple of days ago, I'd probably go on a big rant, going close 100%, but...
Well, I like that.
Okay, right.
Let's hear that one.
No, the rant will come back round, but I think need to make a point, and it was on the back of Callum Osmond, who appears Celtic bound, and how chasing Fulham fans, and do you know what they said, every Fulham fan, what is the point of an academy? We bring these players to a certain level and they get picked off. And I think there's been this theory for a while in post-Brexit where the English academies are trying to fill their boots with the best talents, like Aidan Borland, Rory Wilson, all these players that are really proper talents going down south, and even the ones that probably aren't, just to get the numbers up. But I think showing what the Fulham fans are making the point that there's such a hesitance down south to even give these guys that the issues, it's so complex, it's so widespread that there probably isn't enough. You have to have academies for the sake of saving face, but there is no real pathway for these guys into the Scottish teams. That it's just,
I mean, you can justify it by saying that they're now selling these guys at 16, 17, 18 for £500,000 or £1 million quid. They do sell 2 or 3 guys and it pays for itself for the year. But I'm at the point I'm thinking,
is it ruined? Is the talents getting lost along the way?
They're taking the best talents at schoolboy level into their academies, and then they're getting either taken away somewhere else or they're falling by the wayside by the time it gets to the first team. I would honestly rather they stayed in other clubs' academies, like your Motherwells and your Dundees and all these places, Aberdeen and all that stuff, and do well. And then I think the money to stay in Scotland, maybe then Celtic Rangers could go and buy them at 17, 18, 19 to take them to the next level, or 20. I just think that the model in Scotland isn't working, and it's not helping produce players for the national team either. We've got too many guys involved with Celtic Rangers that aren't going to make the first team. No. And they say the best ones are away at a young age, and they draining the talent from other academies that could get maybe a chance of progressing better. I think the whole thing needs looked at, and I don't think you can scrap the old firm academies.
What about centralised?
Because that's still a prestige of playing for these clubs, but something needs to be done to make that production line click back into gear, because it seems to have stalled at both clubs.
There's nothing worse when American sports get put into, especially Scottish sports unique, but I genuinely think a centralised or regionalised leagues, and there's a draft system on merit each year. Best players go into the first team, so you develop players up to a certain level. This Lennon Miller, say, #1 draft pick, and he goes to a Whacky team. Does he really want to play for that team long term? Who knows? But I don't think that. I think it's as good as any idea. It just I've looked at it in the past, and I think it stands up okay.
I like it. I like it. But listen, we're in the kind of the dark side of the moon now in the close season, having crawled to the finishing line. We're now sad that it's all over and counting down the days to the new season. But we're getting towards the dreaded pre-season friendlies, right? And I mentioned the Scotland ones earlier on the show. Pre-season club friendlies are even worse. And I'm looking at Celtic, Rangers and all these things. They always host these big games and stuff. And they've got the absolute brass neck to charge people to watch these games. And is there a case to say, right, we'll do it for free? Because I don't think these games should be for public consumption sometimes. No. I mean, the amount of friendlies I've watched from, I think this shouldn't be behind closed doors. It should be behind a lock and key and in the dark with the curtains pulled shut, because it's a waste of time. It's a training exercise. But they charge for it. They get the cheek to charge for it. Should they be free?
Yes, that's a stick. Honestly, it's so strong. And this Adidas Cup, Celtic Newcastle,
£25.
Like, this is a culture as well. I think we all grew up in an era when there was a culture of free friendlies, wasn't it?
Used to be
season book stuff and all that, and used to. Obviously, that's
you've got to police them, I guess. That's of
course,
security. There's running costs, so it's going to cost something to put these games on if you want to watch them.
And I know there will be deals, but that is the game where it's like, just for all clubs, I totally agree with this. That just get new fans in. People wouldn't watch football. I thought maybe they wouldn't watch football after they go to one of these games. But it's the one thing where I think with clubs, there's always maybe deals in it, but see, just a real act of generosity. I think that does go a long way, and I think it's time to just move on for these paid friendlies. I really do.
Well, I mean, you see the Adidas Cup, why don't they put it on? So we'll make it free entry. Kids can buy shirts and merchandise.
Famous celebrity goalkeepers make appearances.
Bring in some famous celebrity goalkeepers at half time or for the penalty shootout. Like that. I don't know, but I just think friendlies in general, I think are just training exercises. So, in saying that, I was in America last year with Celtic's pre-season, and I genuinely think probably seen the best friendlies I've seen. The two games against Chelsea and Man City.
But that's a different type
actually,
of friendly, isn't it?
That was actually cool.
That was a training camp, but that was building towards.
Yeah. But Celtic took those games far more seriously than Chelsea and Man City did. But the benefit they got of doing that to catapult them into the season, and the form they showed at the start of the season came from those games. Because you could see it. I mean, I must admit, I was taken aback, but this is actually proper impressive stuff. I mean, the football we played was outstanding for an hour. And then the last half an hour, you can just go, what's the point of being here, really?
That's fair.
I'm watching something I should be seen.
No, but I think Celtic, very particular, because they finished the season like a runaway train into that, and then the way they started, that pre-season was almost part of the season, wasn't it?
That was a key
thing. It was like Nicholas Kuhn coming alive, and but again, this is a different thing. This is, punters just deserve a bit back. It's such, like, Scottish football is the most unique thing in the world, and any way you can give back, I think we should be doing it, and I think that would be a good start.
Yeah.
So talking about pre-season friendlies,
call it meaningless games.
Oh no. What is the point of the Premier Sports Cup group stage?
Listen, the point is that it makes clubs a few quid having extra games that are competitive rather than these friendlies and all that stuff. So that's the point of it. What benefit it brings, I'm not entirely sure. Apart from giving bigger clubs the jeopardy of getting papped out of a cup competition when they don't get a squad put together yet. Yeah. See, it means that they're having to an extra month's wages for players. They're not ready yet. They could look really silly. It's cost managers their job, this cup competition. They're in there with undercooked squads and falling flat in their face. I just think it's more hassle than it's worth for everyone. The smaller teams, I think, will like it because they get some gates, they get some big teams, a few quid in the bank. But it's you give you one hand, take away the other, because they're having to pay players an earlier point. The back pre-season earlier, it's a longer season. I don't see who gets the benefit of it. I mean, we thought when it was first kind of floated, I thought maybe that's the way of getting our teams ready for Europe. European teams aren't even in the competition, so they don't get any benefit of that at all. They're already in Europe at the same time. It's a thing. I must admit, I find it a little bit hard to love this group section. It seems a bit meaningless.
I'm back with a solution, and it shouldn't be seeded. That's the one thing that I've always felt with this tournament. It should just be an open competition for the group stage and then the knockouts as well. That's the reward for winning the group. You get avoided. But that is the strongest one. I really feel strongly on this because it's such a safe competition, the Premier Sports Cup, where it's the same teams every year making it the fight. Just a bit of jeopardy.
Well, I think the Premier Sports Cup, if you want keep the group stages, I think should be gone. But I also think the other rounds should be played on Champions League nights.
Right.
Because I think that it's a competition that it's kind of found it's hard to find dates and all that stuff because of Champions League, and it creates a problem for us. We end up with December that's too packed. Use those dates, not the same nights, or the same week. And if the old firm go like, oh wait a minute, we're in Europe, or teams in Europe, we're in Europe. That's not really fair. Tough luck. That's why they get squads, and that's why teams don't tend to win trebles and quadruples around the world, because they have to prioritise. Play your fringe guys and your B team boys, your youth set-up guys in this competition, and I think that would open it up and make it a more attractive cup, because other teams might win it at some point in time. Because what we get is Southern Rangers playing full teams every week, gubbing teams in the early rounds and getting to the semi-final every single year. It's completely made it dull in recent years. I think they should see these dates and go, well, fit them in during these kind of things, rather than saying a weekend game or a midweek that's free. No, because it's causing problems with the fixture list. Just play it as normal. If it has to be Europe, then take your pick what game you want to play. Not play the same night, obviously. But you know what I mean? I think
that was a nice plot twist at the end there. I thought you were let on, then it would be
play the same night, double header.
Yeah, double header.
So you could have Bayern Munich at 8, but you could have Great Morton at 6.
But Brendan can only manage one half. So it's got it all. It's all there.
It's all there. This is going to revolutionise Scottish football.
So to finish us off then, and this is very good. What is the best summer sport?
The best summer sport is, for me, I love my golf. I mean, the Open Championship for me is the ultimate summer sport. I mean, I'm watching the US Open just now, watching the boys hack their way about in the rough and all that stuff. It's brilliant. But the Scottish Open and the Open back to back, can he beat it? The links golf, proper form of the game, especially the Scottish Open, all the star turns. I mean, I think 8 of the top 10 in the world are going to be there. And you're straight into the Open, especially when it's in Scotland as well, which I think the Open should always be in Scotland, by the way. Home of golf. None of this taking it down anywhere else. That's a piece of nonsense. Should always be in Scotland. It's our Open. So it should be a back-to-back Scottish golf fortnight. But that's for me. That's the summer is about the golf. I know you get your tennises and something. You're going to say cricket, aren't you?
Do you know what?
A rugby league or something like that. But no, it's got to be golf.
Well, I had it down. I've misunderstood the question. It was drinking in the beer garden. I thought.
That's
you moved right.
Olympic champions here.
Well, I'm going to just confess it all. I've actually quite enjoyed cricket the last couple of years, but we'll move on. It's tennis. Tennis, brilliant. Tennis is the best. Tennis. Wimbledon, Queens are now. It's just magic, and I feel as nostalgic watching Wimbledon as any other sport in the world. Like, just memories of trying to play football, tennis with your neighbour and like just games of not with real racket. We didn't have rackets, unfortunately, but we just tried to follow along.
Couple of frying pans and a pair of rolled up socks.
That's what you need. It's imagination based.
Over the clothes.
Exactly. That's it. But it's genuinely, as generations move on, one kid loves watching Djokovic and Alcaraz, and these are the same ones and loved. I enjoyed Sampras, Agassi, not Tim Henman.
The Murray years.
That's it. That's it.
It's hard to miss Murray.
And actually, do you know, with the Murray era was so extra nostalgic. I was working in America for most of it, and every time you check in results, and there was just this superstar was being born, but you were kind of keeping in for the other side of the world. And but no, it's been Wimbledon is just magic. Everything about it looks the part, and you just get these epic games. And the roof in the last few years, these late night games are better than any.
I must admit, Wimbledon's great. I remember Andy Murray won his first one. We were up Rangers pre-season in the Highlands. It was back when Alan McCoy was manager, and it was pretty bumpy roads for Rangers at that point in time. And we watched the finale of it in the clubhouse. I think it was Brora. Where Ali was watching it and a few others, and we were watching that day. And it was like, anyway, what do you make of the game against Brora? But it was one of those moments. It was very memorable. But yeah, I do love my tennis as well. But no, I think it's the golf for me. So on that note, I'm going to go back to watching Rory and Co. hack their way about up at.
I'll get the frying pan.
I like myself about Huggyfield Loch back in the day. Well, that's been done up now as well. But anyway, listen, thank you for watching and listening this week's episode of Game On. You can catch us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the usual outlets. If you like what you're hearing, or if you don't like what you're hearing, leave a wee comment.